It's Cara Newhart, and today I'm going to show you how to install crown molding with no miter cuts. If you're new here, I'm your design and DIY bestie, and I show you how to tackle approachable DIY projects for your house. Let's go. If you've ever tried to install crown molding by yourself, you know it's about as fun as going to the dentist, and at least there, someone else is doing the work for you. Cutting crown molding is intense. You have to flip the board upside down and backwards and figure out how to cut the right way. So here's a more beginner-friendly version of installing crown with none of that. This is a trim style that's a little more traditional versus like sleek and modern, so it might not be for everyone, but it's definitely the easiest way to get it done. Ooh, what are these? This is the secret. This is an inside corner piece. It is a hardwood trim piece made for crown molding. I will link them as well as everything else in the description below. But this is what you attach into the corners, and then your crown molding can butt up against it, and that is what lets you make straight cuts.
So we're gonna start by installing these trim pieces into the corners. I added some liquid nails to the back, and then I'm just driving some 18 gauge brad nails into the sides. I'm adding the brad nails diagonally through the trim on the edge into the drywall. I'm crossing them in different directions so that this can't just pull straight out of the wall. If you cross your nails, it really helps you sink things into drywall where there's no studs. You can use this trick for these little pieces or all kinds of things that you're attaching without a stud. You want to add just enough nails where everything feels secure. The liquid nails on the back is going to be doing most of the work once that sets, but 18 gauge nails have a pretty small head, so you can actually fill them really easily, sand it down and paint over it, and you won't even be able to tell they're there. What you use to fill these nail holes depends on the finish you want for your trim. So I'm going to be painting these a solid color. So I'm going to be using a DAP white filler. I will add that in the description below, but if your trim is going to be wood with a stained finish, you might want to use less nails and fill them with a wood match filler. Full disclosure, there was 2 angled cuts. So this ceiling is angled at the top, and so I had to actually measure out that angle and cut 2 of these blocks at the top to fit the angle of the ceiling. But if you're working with a normal ceiling that is completely straight, you won't have to mess with this. I didn't do any crazy measuring. I actually just held the block up to the ceiling and traced an approximate line because you can caulk it as long as it's within like 1/4 an inch. I'm using the DeWalt 18 gauge battery powered nailer. I love this one because it's super easy to get up and down a ladder and you don't need a whole air compressor. Here's what the blocks look like installed. You can see there's some nail holes and a little bit of gapping because this isn't completely straight, but we're gonna be able to fix that with caulk.
Now we just have to get all this trim up the stairs. We got this. Did I blend my makeup into my neck? I did not. Is that embarrassing? But come with me. So I'm really hoping to get these in like one big piece so I don't have to caulk seams, but I don't know that it'll fit. So we either have to bend it or open a window. It's not looking good.
False alarm, it was totally fine. Feels like a good 30% of DIY projects is running around getting all the things you forgot.
And back. Okay, basically now that we have these guys installed, we can measure between them and then just cut our trim straight to that distance. And that's really intense if you're on a ladder trying to measure a whole room by yourself. So here's my trick. A laser level. I will link this guy in the description. Basically, I can put this against one of these, and it will shoot a laser beam across the room and measure this distance exactly. So let's get up there.
These are super easy to use. You just line up one end. It has 2 settings, whether it's measuring from the back of the laser or the front. It has levels to make sure that you're measuring it straight, and then the numbers right on the screen so you don't forget.
P.S. if you didn't know, this is an 1840s house that I bought to flip. It's a dumpster fire. It's so bad. But we had to rip out all the plaster because it was literally like falling off the walls and then drywall it. So I'm adding back the trim, but it's been a whole journey. So you should catch up on all of the adventures for this room, and the reveal is gonna be amazing.
It's like, do we have nothing that we need up here where the project is happening? I guess not. Okay, the magic number is 10 foot 3 inches. Scream when you see it.
Listen, I never said I was normal. I said I'm going to teach you how to do this project. It's my professional recommendation that you do this outside and that you wear a mask but mine is locked. So we're just gonna hold our breath and pretend that's not okay. Wear your safety gear.
As promised, you can make a straight cut on your crown molding boards. Just lay them completely flat and cut them down to size. So I'm using a 7-ish inch miter saw. This one's a Ryobi. It's pretty affordable and very portable. If you don't want to use power tools, you can actually use a miter box instead. Remember how the laser measure had 2 settings? Guess who used the wrong one?
It's short. Okay, you don't really need redwood nails, but I'm gonna add it because I want this to stay here forever. It's a good idea. And I want whoever takes this out to have the worst time with demo. So I'm adding this everywhere. Okay, I hope this fits because I didn't dry fit it, which was a really dumb idea. But here's where we're at.
So dry fitting refers to holding the board up that you cut to make sure that it fits before you add things like glue or get your stuff all set to nail it up. Usually you want to cut things long so that if you do it incorrectly, you can always cut shorter, but you can't cut longer. Luckily, this one is perfect. Crown molding has bevels on the top and bottom so that it goes up flush at a 45-degree angle. Trim is flexible so you can press it into place in each section before you nail. So I'm nailing this up again with my 18 gauge brad nailer. Normally I'd be using a pin nailer for trim since you won't be able to see the head, but since this is at an angle, we need a stronger nail to hold it up.
Okay, this is how it's looking. See how this butts into there and it's like a straight cut. So I just cut straight, no crazy angles, and it went into there. Now there's a lot of gaps happening around the edge. That's because this is an old house. It's really wonky, but even new homes, your ceilings are almost never level. So we're going to be caulking those gaps so that you won't even notice.
So the strategy here for doing this solo is that I'm gonna climb on this ladder, attach it in the middle, and then work my way to either side.
Sticking up big trim pieces solo can be intense. You have to balance it over your head, so the trick is to start in the middle, get everything secure by crossing the nails, and then move to the edges. So I'm lining everything up, just making sure we're relatively in the center and my middle piece is flush with the ceiling. In case you're wondering, this is what happens when you put your nails in straight. So cross them, thank me later.
Walls like this, it's more important that the trim stays level, even though the wall, see how it ripples and it kind of bows up at the top. I'm gonna fill that gap, and if I paint all of that, you're not gonna notice that that's uneven, but you would notice visually if this piece of trim was like bubbly and wrinkly. So that's the plan there.
This is all gonna blend together because when I fill that gap up top, I'm actually gonna be painting the ceiling and the trim the same color, so you won't notice that it's uneven. The plan is to add some cove molding to where the ceiling meets the crown so that it's a smaller gap we can caulk.
Okay, you can see how there's a little gap right here and the crown doesn't come all the way down. I'm gonna add another little decorative piece of trim right here. It will all be like caulked and painted, so you won't see the different color, but it'll make it look a little more ornate and flush.
Here's the finished profile before caulking. Let's pick a paint color. What do you guys think? Orange. I wanted something earthy and dramatic for this space, so I custom matched this orange paint color. It's like a burnt orange. My neighbor swears it's brown, but I promise it's orange. I caulked the trim with paintable caulk, which is super important so that your paint actually sticks, and started painting it on. For this custom color, I brought in my favorite sports bra to color match, which was so embarrassing, and I should have got footage, but it was the perfect color. You can screenshot this little guy if you want to use my custom color. Just bring it into the paint desk at Home Depot, and they'll be able to mix it up for you. I went with flat since it's going to be on a ceiling. I didn't want any shine. Cutting it is fun, but this is definitely the most satisfying part, rolling it on. It took probably 3 coats. Just because painting on a ceiling, you can't fill your roller as full of paint or it drips all over your head. I added a medallion and a light fixture. Ready for the reveal, you're gonna die. Look at how good this ceiling looks. The trim is so polished, which is amazing if you are not a trim carpenter because you can install your own crown molding, have a bold accent ceiling, and it's so easy. So on the sides, you can see the ceiling has curvature to it. My trick for this was bendable trim. It is literally a game changer. It just sticks right up and then you can caulk and paint it just like wood or PVC trim. If you have specific questions about this project, pop them below.
If you like this video, you should hit that subscribe button down below and then pop that thumbs up so you can stay in the loop with more fun and fresh projects just like this, as well as DIY tips that will help you become a DIY queen.
If you want to stay connected, you should follow me on Instagram and TikTok. And now, what do you want to watch next? Here's one that's really popular and one that I picked just for you. I'll see you in the next video. Since you're still here, you must really like listening to me talk, but the good news is I actually have a podcast. So you can tune in every week as I teach you to become your own designer and DIY your dream home. But seriously, pick a video.